right. Hello and welcome everyone to our second live stream of today. We're already starting this and I forgot to hit the live button. So here we are. Yay. I have a super awesome special guest that I'm bringing onto the channel today that I'm very excited for you guys to get to know if you don't know them already. So I will just let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kevin X, or Kevin X Bivens, as some of you may know me as, the CEO of Lucifer Gang. Like I was saying the first time in the test round, I'm the internet's bad guy, but I'm here to hail Satan and just spread the message and get the word out.
And let's talk about why you are the internet's bad guy. Let's just get right into like the delicious blasphemy that is some of the content that you put out.
Well, the truth scares people, clearly in a world where common sense isn't so common anymore. And especially when, you look the way we do, tattoos and red eyes, a little bit riled up. So I just spread some information and get the truth out there. But a lot of people don't like it. But that's okay.
Yeah, I know that I originally, when I first saw you, I think, it was on TikTok. And I don't remember exactly like which video it was that you had made. But I distinctly remember seeing you with a black sabbatical Spanish goat's head on, making some content with that. That's initially what caught my eye. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of a vibe. So then I went like to the actual page, and on TikTok, you just like get to scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And then I just like was devouring a lot of this blasphemous content and like a lot of kind of like your responses. I don't know what they call those. Like, are those stitches? I think they're called stitches on TikTok, or duets or whatever. I don't know. I'm like, an 800-year-old hag witch over here. So I don't know, some of these proper names.
Oh, I don't either. That's fine. But yeah, when I saw Baphomet, it pretty much, I realized that was my spirit animal the moment I saw it. It's all black, red eyes. I'm like, oh, this looks familiar. And with all the blasphemy, I didn't really know that's what I was doing. I was just being myself. I was just expressing myself, and I didn't realize that I was causing such a stir, that so many people really even cared what I had to say.
Well, and there's been plenty of people who have been like so upset, so just totally beside themselves, so personally victimized by some of what you were talking about. Like, and that was partially what was so funny about it, is like how mad some people were about like what you were talking about and the information that you were sharing, and like how just beside themselves and totally bewildered. And I think that was part of the appeal, is like just the Christian tears was kind of comical.
Yeah, it makes them even more upset that I'm mainly using. That's one thing that I don't like to do, is just speak based on opinion. That's how you lose really any argument or any debate. So I've just been using Bible and Bible verses and letting them know, the contradictions they're doing and spewing, and that really upsets them. And you give them a taste of their own medicine.
Right. Let's talk about how we have evolved currently into this online entity. Not saying that that's not who you are in real life, but I'm just saying, like, how did we get to where we are now? Because I think when I watched some of your TikToks, followed you there, found your YouTube channel, listened to some of your music, paid attention to some of your lyrics and like some things that you were saying, watched some of your other videos that you had on your YouTube channel as well. And I think, and I don't want to like put words in your mouth necessarily, but did you say that you were raised Baptist, or you come from like a Baptist Christian background?
Well, my story is very very obscure, I guess I'll try and piece this together as quickly as I can. But yes, mainly I was raised in a Baptist, a very Christian family. Everything from played drums at my church. I sang. I was in the choir. It sounds very weird to even reflect on. But I was even baptized twice, so that goes to show you how much that works. But growing up in the church and not getting answers, not getting questions answered, like it already started early for me with these questions that I just sought after. And the only thing that I found peace in at that time was metal music. And metal music has clearly very anti-religious and just very open lyricism. So I think that's what started it. That's what piqued my interest. And then from there, just long story short, I just moved into the satanic world, and here I am. The best way I can put it without without holding you up for like 5 or 6 hours.
So what, and I know that like labels are for food, not people theoretically, but like if you were to adhere to any sort of labels in terms of your own personal, orthodoxy and orthopraxy, because from my perspective, I've seen kind of some conflicting comments about like divinity and the left-hand path. So like what is Satanism for you? Do you consider yourself a Luciferian, an atheist, a Satanist, an atheistic Satanist? Like what does your orthodoxy and orthopraxy look like, and what labels would you choose to identify yourself with if you had to pick labels?
Well, for me, I've created my own subsection of Satanism, but ultimately, I'm just an atheist. If I really had to put a label on it, I'm just a satanic atheist that's in my own category. Because I didn't fully agree with the Church of Satan. I really don't agree with the Satanic Temple all the way. So I made my own denomination, which is light-bearing Satanism. And that's pretty much, we just recognize all people, but we understand that you need to have some type of dark energy to balance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of under the impression that like most Satanists are pretty atheistic in the sense that they worship themselves as a living god. And it's typically like Luciferians who, worship Satan, which like you're on a witch's YouTube channel. So like whether you do or don't worship or believe in a literal Satan is neither here nor there to me. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But so what's the difference between a Satanist and like an atheistic Satanist? Or is Satanism theoretically atheistic?
Well, some people believe that Satan or Lucifer was actually real. They actually believe that he's an entity and they believe in his power. Me personally, I don't believe in magic or any power of such. But just because I don't believe in something doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't mean it's not going to bring some light and positivity for else. So that's kind of where I am with light-bearing Satanism. Is just because I don't believe something, like I won't take that away from someone else. But
no, yeah,
like I
for
said,
sure.
I'm an atheist. I don't believe anything if it can't be proven. You can't show me, I'm not gonna believe it. But if you can, cool,
Yeah, and like I said too, like most Satanists I know are atheistic. Like they don't. I think that's a big misconception actually about Satanism. Is I think people think that Satanists believe in a literal Satan, and I've never met a Satanist who does believe in a literal Satan. All the Satanists I know worship themselves as divine beings, and all the Luciferians I know believe in a literal Satan. So that's just why I think it's important to like also define the words that we're using, especially like during this live, because that kind of like shapes and navigates the conversation. And I also think too, as far as atheistic Satanism goes, like using the unholy trinity of, Lucifer, the devil, and Satan, because these three figures are also very different figures. Like while they're all linked together, Lucifer, the light bringer, the Lord of Light, is very different than like the 666, the beast per se. And we see this in literature and art and Abrahamic texts as well, that there is a distinction between, these whether you want to call them entities or archetypes. And so I think that there's also real power in using that energy as an archetype. And I feel like that's very much what you've done in some of your music. While you say that you're an atheist, you don't necessarily believe in whatever or magic or whatever. I think that magic itself isn't everything. And I think that music and your lyrics is a form of magic because you're kind of setting an intention in a way. And when every time someone listens to your music, it's like they're picking up on that frequency that you created as a living God.
It's pretty deep. I didn't think of my music that way, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
You don't think of music that way as an artist?
Powerful. Well, you know what? It's I should correct myself. You know what? Music, it has been powerful. I just my music in general. I've been doing it so long. You know, it kind of just it doesn't have that effect anymore. I feel like it got me through the stages of life that it needed to get me through. You know, like when you first get into music and it's just like so embodied by it, like it just takes over you all the time. Now it's kind of just like it almost depresses me making music now. Because there's so much I have so much life story and being behind the music that I almost don't want to do it anymore. But it does have energy. Again, like you said, that could be part of the magic. Just, you know, dark magic too. And a lot of my music has that. Especially growing up in the environment that I've grown up in. It's it's very dark and very depressing. And all my lyrics are all true. All the hate, the violence, the rage and aggression. I've grown up around that for a very long time. You know, that's another part of what shaped who I am in this image. Just going back to what you said a couple moments ago.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I think that like it's undeniable the impact that artists have on societies and how, you know, what they choose to create as an artist. You know, even if you don't consider yourself to be a magical magician or witch or whatever, I think that anything that we are creating has power. And even just like an online platform, like right now being here on YouTube or like your TikTok, like that has, you know, influence that I think is undeniable. And it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to describe it as magic. You don't have to use the same words that I do. But there is power in that. There is influence in that for sure. I feel like, and you've been making and creating for what, over a decade? Like your YouTube channel is at least 10 years old, isn't it?
Yeah, I made that back in my metal musician days, which those have been long gone. But yeah, that YouTube channel's been up for quite a while. It's been through quite a few transformations over the years.
And how has that, like, how do you feel about the platform as an artist being on TikTok versus like YouTube?
You know what? TikTok is what ultimately showed that everything that Lucifer is, everything that brand is. I've been using YouTube for quite a while. I mean, it's got some traction. It got some views at one point. It was pretty, it was pretty up there. But I feel like that I went on TikTok, that's when everything changed. That app, I don't know what it is. It's just, you know, you never know what's going to work at what time. But once I started speaking and getting the message on there, that's when I found the community. That's when I found you and, you know, all the other beautiful witches out there, the Satanists, the community that I'm in now, the occult family. But TikTok has been the greatest thing to happen.
So would you say that through creating on TikTok is how you felt more plugged into, you know, a craft-based or a cult community? Like, had you not, what was your experience with witches and Satanists prior to being on TikTok? Had you had experience to the community prior?
You know what? There wasn't that many that I've had contact with. I feel like a lot of this stuff I'm doing on my own and learning on my own. And there wasn't, like I said, there wasn't that many at all. But on TikTok is where I found everyone. It's pretty like, oh, hey, they're doing this years ago. Yeah, that opened the door to the thousands of people that I needed to see.
Growing up, like,
That
as you
YouTube
mentioned,
just didn't provide, I guess. Pretty hard to.
I was just saying, growing up, like you mentioned, I think that, you grew up very Baptist, like,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
and my kind of impression of that is it's very like fire and brimstone and fear mongering and very constricting, and really instills a lot of like religious trauma. And here in my local community, there's lots of witches that I've worked with and for, actually helping them undo their baptisms and undergoing, sort of this religious, kind of removing some of this religious indoctrination, because like there are witches who have also been raised very strongly Christian, and they no longer identify with those beliefs, but yet they still find themselves suffering from some of the indoctrination. So like, for you growing up, like, were you warned about these horrible, evil witches who worship the devil and eat babies? And like, was that like a thing? Like, when was your first like experience of like, okay, there are real people who identify with the word witch, and like witches are very much real, and we're not just like magical unicorns per se?
Well, really growing up, had any knowledge of anything other than the stereotypical Christian programming. I guess I didn't even really know what witches were until maybe about I would say maybe 2 years ago, 2 or 3. And I'm up there now. I'm 33 right now, so it's been quite a while. Yeah, growing up, I was just told all stereotypical fear mongering based things, and that's all I knew. So I grew up Christian, and I just was afraid of everything. Thought Satanists were, blood drinking, child kidnapping, the stereotypes.
Sure. And I mean, some people might drink blood
And I had to figure it
in
out
a
on my own, especially growing up
consensual
in the hood. I
environment.
grew up in the hood of National.
Yeah, I think some people might drink blood like in a
Hey,
consensual
whatever it is,
environment.
that's cool. I don't I don't judge.
Yeah, I think we do have just a little bit of a lag.
Yeah, I'm all for it now. Sounds like a.
I'm just looking at the chat here.
So.
I just want to say, like, welcome to Death and Kinsey, Uncle Badger, Craft and Magic, Nocturnal, Star Ruby. Yes. And you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those down below, and we can definitely get to your questions as well. So don't hesitate to drop your questions down below. So what is it now that you feel, because your old TikTok just like disappeared, because I thought you had just like kind of fallen off the face of the earth. And then I happened to stumble across you again, and I was like, what happened to your TikTok? And you said that like it had gotten taken down. So do you want to like share or elaborate on some of like the fiasco of like what happened there?
Yeah, what happened was there was a surge of Christian people that were upset, and they started reporting any and all videos they could, even if it didn't go with what they were reporting. So eventually that caught the attention of the TikTok administrators, of course, and they went through my account. First, they said they were going to, they labeled it as a dangerous group and organization, which I don't know why. Clearly, I've never said anything dangerous. I'll never say anything that's violent towards anyone else or anything of the sort. They reviewed my account for a full week. And then after that week was over, I got the email that they're taking it down, and pretty much there's nothing I can do about it. So I just had to make a new one and start over. Now I just have to tread lightly and try to upset too many people, but clearly I'm already doing that. So we'll see how this account goes.
That is just so crazy to me because, I've seen a lot of the stuff that you posted on that TikTok, and there wasn't anything to me either that was necessarily, I mean, was there blasphemy on there? Yeah. And that was that was a little bit the point, right? But was there any hate speech on there? Not that I found. There was no hate speech. Were you inciting violence, or were you doxing people, or were you jeopardizing the physical well being and safety of people? Absolutely not. I never saw that. So I don't understand why you would get this label of being this dangerous group unless we're just talking about Christian privilege and the influence that Christians have as a unfortunate majority who are directly attacking various different marginalized communities due to their, hate mongering and fear mongering.
Yeah, it's a pretty Christian down world right now. They are the number one religion in the world, but of course that doesn't mean that's a good thing. That just means you have most the most followed, but again, isn't as positive right now. And they definitely taken over essentially almost every app that we use. And I have to tread lightly and walk around what they believe, and it's especially to have my account taken down. I think I was at 56,000, so that definitely hurt losing that.
I mean,
We're
I
just gonna
think that
rebuild
all
and
of
keep
that
going.
will, I think
That's all you
all of
can
that
do.
though is going to come back and then some. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really foresee that really holding me back personally. So,
No, I'm not gonna lie. It definitely gave me a little depression, little anxiety. I was upset. It definitely hurt. Having said that, I would have lost a lot of those videos. But like you said, you can't stop me. So I'm just gonna keep spreading the message and come back even stronger.
well, and I feel like it's very much a testimony of, kind of who the real oppressors are here. I mean, the Abrahamic religions, as you've mentioned in some of those TikToks that you made that were unfortunately stripped from your channel and removed and taken down, the Abrahamic religions have been very oppressive to people going back since the beginning of their creation. And they've been used as tools to control and manipulate and instill fear and incite violence. I mean, if we even just take a look, and I'm sure you can probably quote scripture and know the Bible way better than I do or ever will or ever even care to learn per se. But if you take a look at the Old Testament, I mean, that is a very violent book of the Bible. And a lot of the stuff that they put on witches and Satanists, which it's just so funny to me because, as you say, like, you aren't really even one. Like, it's more about the archetype and the power and the message and the artistry. Like, it's funny because all this negative stuff that they put on witches like me or left hand path practitioners like me, as someone who really does practice and walk a left hand path and identifies as witch. Like, I have it tattooed all over me. This is my life. This is what I live and breathe. Um, like, but yet in the Old Testament, there's everything that they accuse us of being, like battering women and, taking advantage of people in different ways, like physically or sexually. I have to be careful with like a 4-letter R word that I'm not going to say on the live, but you know what that word is and you know what I'm talking about. Um, or like stoning your, daughter if she gets married as someone who's not a virgin, like all types of really sick and twisted stuff. And like for most Satanists, it's very much just like, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar to some degree of like a lot of the satanic tenets and like the satanic Bible. And I know that you said earlier that, it's here and there, but I feel like the Old Testament is a very cruel and violent book.
Yeah, the Bible is one of the most sadistic books to ever exist, whether they want to admit it or not. Like you said, it has everything that most, which is asinine to me, that most Christians don't realize nowadays that they agree with: the misogyny, the homophobia, the just the xenophobia. Islamophobia, just excluding, and the amount of separatism and hate that it's brought among Satanists, witches, everyone else. Like, like the Salem witch trials didn't happen. They used to stone and burn witches. They do that now across the world, still to this day. It's just a book full of hate that I wish people would see the proper perspective, and that people think all of it is done out of love or done out of care for us.
Right.
But thank you for spreading hate speech. Like, yes, this is helping me somehow. These people are just so indoctrined, and it kind of scares me a little bit. Like, I have to wake up and deal with this every single day. I'll never stop speaking out against it. Never stop fighting. So we have to save the world. It's clearly up to us to do it, because they're not going to.
Right. And I feel like in a way, it's like when I was talking about the power of artists and like what artists create bears influence, and whether you call that influence just like having influence, or whether you say that there's magic involved in the creation of art, it holds power either way. And I'm sure, especially, for you with some of your lyrics, how you choose to express yourself physically and artistically, I'm sure you've probably had a mix, feedback about some of the content that you've made, probably on both sides of the fence, I would imagine.
Yeah, you know what? I'm at that point musically. Do I have to watch what I say? I have to calculate a little bit better and actually put more lyricism into it. A lot of my music was just done out of, I guess, just getting out the anger and expression. And it's kind of just taking everything that was surrounding me and just, kind of just putting it into a little ball and just spun it out. I'm going to try and get more, I guess, satanically sophisticated, I guess we'll call it, and get more political. We need right now is to we definitely got to focus a lot more, and we got to attack what we need to. I say that attack as in a in a verbal sense, not physically.
Mm-hmm.
But we gotta hit them where it hurts, and we gotta definitely get into the churches. We gotta spread more message there. Government, because that's where all the brainwashing is occurring, especially in the education system too. So, gonna try and make things happen there.
Yeah. Okay. I think that that's very good. I think that I would be interested in hearing. You mentioned the Satanic Temple, the Church of Satan, earlier. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel as though both of them are important. They have their own legacies that they've achieved and are still doing. The Church of Satan clearly being the first, they definitely set a bar, they set a precedent that I have to respect. I respect the Satanic Temple. Lucian Greaves, he's a wonderful man. A lot when it comes to politics and just everything he's doing. He's a very brilliant man. But Satanic Temple, I don't feel connecting with them on the part where they say in one of the tenets that you should allow others to offend. I don't agree. It's kind of like self-defeating. You shouldn't let people offend people you're supposed to be protecting. You know what I mean? People that you care about. So that's where Lucifer game comes in. I'm more outspoken, and I'm willing to stand up for anybody. Like, I don't want any disrespect from Satanists to Christians. I don't want any disrespect from Christians to like yourself. So when it comes to what I'm doing, I'm more outspoken, and I have my own set of rules, my light bearer principles. They're on LuciferGame.com that I follow. A lot of other people have been willing to follow them too. I've had some people tell me that they want to convert from the Satanic Temple to what I'm doing, which I didn't think I was that important. but it's very surreal. It's very lovely to know.
So what do you feel like?
But also, one thing I want
what,
to make note of too, I don't want any.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm saying I don't want any. I don't want any beef or any negative comments towards them, or because this has been causing some type of tension. I feel because I've gotten a couple comments on TikTok and Twitter, Instagram. They're upset that I've started this denomination of Satanism. And I'm not really sure as to why, but people will find a negative in anything that you do. But yeah, I just want to say just really quick, I just don't want any problems with the Satanic Temple or the Church of Satan. I respect them and I love them, and I just want them to know ally, not an enemy. That's all.
So how would you separate your denomination from the other existing denominations? Let's talk about what would make this denomination that you're referencing different. Not saying that, of course, we're not saying it's this or it's that, or yeah, we definitely do not want, we're not trying to instigate any issues here. I'm just trying to understand what separates your denomination, to just so I know.
With me, well, first of all, I'm more focused on bringing in everyone into this. You don't have to be a Satanist to be a light bearer. You can be a witch. You can be whatever. You can be a Christian and still be a light bearer. You know what I mean? So with me, I'm more focused on what brings us all together instead of the differences. But specifically, like I said, the right to offend with the temple, that excludes me from them. And the Church of Satan, I'm not really a magic person. I think it might be the satanic rule, like number 3 or something like that, to believe in the don't personally. But if someone does, that's okay. Like I said, whatever works for them works for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And in this group, I'm rounding up all the degenerates, whoever you are, you're accepted.
I mean, that sounds good to me. Like I'm on board with that for sure. Yeah, and talking about being a light bearer, I mean, is that not what Lucifer represents?
Right. Yeah. So that too, like, you don't have to call yourself a light bearing Satanist. It's Satanism. You can just attach light bearer to what you want to be, and it works out. You could be a light bearing Christian. You could be a light bearing witch, or whatever you want, and that's what makes sexual, to me at least.
And how are we defining like light? Like what, if we kind of break down the word like light bearer, that means that we're like what? Bearing light? What is the light? Is the light like illumination? Are we illuminating things? Is that what a light bearer does? It illuminates things and guides people? Is it a torch in the darkness? What is a light bearer to you?
Yeah, I guess you could say a torch in the darkness. Light bearers understand how life really works. You understand the light inside of you and how important it is to spread that light around the world, spreading positivity, spreading the correct information about pretty much just bringing good vibes into the world, because that's what we need right now. The world is getting very dark. Clearly up to us to make sure everything goes smoothly here. I feel like time is running out. So we need all the light bearers we can get right now.
I do have a question here. Let's see. I want to scroll back up here because I saw it in the chat earlier, and I want you guys to know that like I am, paying attention to the chat, and then I also have some mods here as well that can help me out if I'm missing one. But I saw a question earlier. Here we go. So I think that we already kind of addressed this a little bit earlier, but it says, question to both individuals: how long have you walked the left-hand path and why? So that's kind of what we've been talking about. And I think that we definitely experience the LHP in different ways. But how would you say, to kind of reiterate, like, and there's no wrong answers here, of course, like we're just talking about our own personal experiences. So it's not about there being a right or a wrong answer. It's about what does the left-hand path mean for you? And also, let me twist this as well and say, like, what has the left-hand path or the image of Satan or the beast, whether it's literal or archetypal, it doesn't matter. Like, what has this done for you? What has been your experience walking this path, even as an atheistic Satanist?
Well, the left-hand path, like everything that I've needed to see, it changed me as a person. It's like feeling as if I was reborn inside myself, I guess. I feel like around the age of, I had to be around maybe the age of 13 is when my mind began to open up. Churches weren't answered. I just immediately knew, like, just like, this can't be life. This can't be who I am. And the moment that I realized, it's just everything changed. I have stigma, and I just, ever since, all I walked out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I share similar sentiments. I mean, for myself, witchcraft, just overarching witchcraft and magic, sorcery, divination. I mean, it's my entire life. It's my spirituality. It's my everything. And I think that without witchcraft, without practicing magic, without having a relationship with old gods, I think that I fundamentally would not be the woman that I am now. And I might not even be alive. Like, that's how serious and how deep the craft is for me. It's definitely saved my life in more ways than one. So another question that we have from Star Ruby is, I have a Lucifer sigil tattoo. I heard that sigil tattoos can be opened as a portal. If this is true, how can I open my tattoo to become a portal? So I know that you mentioned earlier that you are atheistic and that you don't necessarily have a belief or work with magic. So I don't know how you would answer this question, but I would imagine that, especially on TikTok, because let's be real, a lot of the audience on TikTok, you know, there's a large young audience on TikTok. And I'm sure, regardless of you being an atheistic Satanist or regardless of you not practicing magic or not having a belief in it, I'm sure you get questions like this.
Yeah, with me, sometimes I don't think things are what we believe they are. Since a portal, like, that could be anything. It could be a giant hole in outer space. It could be a thought process inside of your mind. It could be whatever you need it to be to get to where you need to go. So as far as a portal, that can mean anything. Really, I believe that that's subjective. But again, with the way energy works, the way with that can be whatever you need it to be.
Yeah, I have a video that's on my Patreon right now talking about blood rite dedications, aka a witch's modern day sacrifice, being through tattoo blood rites. Dedicating yourself to Satan or to dark goddesses or spirits of the left-hand path through a modern day blood rite sacrifice, aka tattoos being a blood sacrifice. As tattoos, you know, can very much be a ritual in of themselves. You know, maybe you're not throwing yourself skyclad on the ground, taking a ritual dagger and slicing open your wrist per se. You know, maybe you're not doing that in the middle of a tattoo shop, but you can have daily rituals all the time, you know, like what you do when you get up or when you go to bed. Like, those are also rituals. There might not necessarily be magic involved, but we are ritualistic beings. We are creatures of habit. So let me ask you this, because I have seen from your Facebook, from your TikTok, and even now, you have quite a few tattoos. Do you want to share? Do you have any like left-hand path tattoos, or you want to share anything, or show us maybe, like, tell me a little bit about what you have there on your face?
Well, I got a bunch of crap everywhere, so I guess we'll just like my face. I got a giant Roman numeral 6 up there. This is like forever around here. X87 for straight edge. Was born in 1987. Trying to think. I got a Japanese kanji for demon right here. And asked me that a lot. The red, this says insurgent or rebel in Arabic. So that was pretty that was tough. I think that's my favorite one. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
I
really
got a
like
bunch of
that one as well. I
all over the place.
love
It's
red
gonna take
ink
forever to.
tattoos. Yeah, I love red ink tattoos, and I think that like that one looks so good. And I have to say too, I love the red contacts. Love the red contacts.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, these were kind of just like an accident too. I almost went with green, like lime green. I was gonna do like this alien kind of thing for yeah, I saw red, and red was just like, I don't know, that's my favorite color anyway. So I just went with that.
Yeah, red is one of my favorite colors as well, for sure. Do you, I'm looking at the time here. I normally try to keep these live streams, these interviews to about an hour, and we're about at the 42-minute mark here. What do you have any kind of like parting thoughts? Like, one, let's make sure that we plug any links, which my guest's link will be absolutely in the description. And I don't know if they can access your other social media platforms through that link as well, or but definitely go check them out on TikTok too, because we got to get their TikTok back to where it was before this religious persecution and zealot has taken place.
Yeah. But yeah, you can pretty much find me on every app under Kevin X or Kevin X Bivens. Pretty much all the same. Kevin X, or if you type in Lucifer Gang, it'll pop up. It's the only one, so.
Well, I greatly appreciate again for you. I mean, you like, I was shocked when you even replied to my comment on your TikTok, because I was just like, oh, little me, you're going to respond to little me.
No, I don't feel like anyone's little. You know, everyone is important. Everything that you're doing is wonderful. We need this. We need these moments. We need these types of channels and content. So everything you're doing is big. It's amazing, and I'm here. I'm more shocked that you wanted me to be on to be on your YouTube. So thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone also, you know, in the comments. I saw a lot of you guys having some really great conversations. So yeah, thank you all for joining. And thanks again, Kevin, for joining me here. I will be live in a little bit later again as well with some covenry stuff, doing some oracle and tarot card pulls, and just doing some witchy stuff on live like my coven sister and I were doing last night. So if you want to stick around for that, definitely check that out. And thank you again, Kevin, for joining. And, you know, brightest, most infernal blessings to you and yours. And I will definitely see you in hell, babe.
All right. Sounds good. I'll see you.